Hey there, and welcome back to Mass Effect 3. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of our Insanity walkthrough, as we are about to see the grand finale of the Omega DLC. Last time we left off after securing the help of the Talon mercenaries, as well as their leader, who turned out to be none other than Aria's former companion Nyreen. Having dealt a few hefty blows to Cerberus, today it is time to take the fight to them, but not before we meet with a few people inside of Aria's bunker.
How are you holding up?
Relax, I got this.
Urgently, your attention, if you please. Tentative excitement. Welcome to Herod's Emporium, human. Relieved. I am grateful for Aria's return. Hidden back room was getting confining. Her patrol liberated me. Curious, you seem familiar.
I had a discount at your store the last time I was here.
Enlightened, I see. Cunningly, I have a plan to recoup my losses since the Cerberus takeover. Informative, the General threw out Aria's couch from Afterlife upon taking over. I would like to gain her favor by returning it. Temptingly, if you find it and send me the coordinates, I will make it worth your while.
Now, the Elcor Herod here might be familiar from Mass Effect 2, and of course we will help him out, as completing this quest is actually very important for an achievement in this DLC.
It's not a priority, but I'll keep my eyes open.
Appreciative. Upon success, I will give you a finder's fee for your trouble.
I'll let you know.
Courteously, have a nice day. Take a look at my kiosk if you want to buy anything.
Following that, we are now also going to make some purchases, or in other words, we are completely emptying out Herod's inventory. This here is the only point in the game where we can actually meet with him, and although his wares can afterwards be bought over on the Citadel, I prefer to take care of things right here and now, even though it does cost us a good 50,000 credits.
Those are exactly what I needed. Thanks.
And that is the side quest for Aria's mechanic turned in, earning us 1,500 XP.
I think I figured out where you are. Oh no. Ruck, you need to head back. Now. You're right in the middle of a Cerberus-controlled area. Ruck, answer me, please. Come on. Ruck. Love. Please answer me.
And that brings this little storyline to an unfortunate end as well, but we can't stay to offer our sympathies, as it is time to continue the fight, and for that we once again need to talk to Aria.
Talk to me, Az.
I've located the source that's powering the Cerberus force fields.
Yes, I see. Shepard, take a look at this. The General is siphoning power from one of my main reactors deep in the bowels of Omega's mines.
Unfortunately, access is cut off by the force fields themselves.
Not completely. There's an open route through that dark area, then up.
The processing plant for one of the mines. It's been powered down. No force fields blocking it.
We infiltrate there, find our way through the mine, then take that elevator to the reactor's back door.
Good eyes, Shepard. Let's go.
Not without me.
Aria, my patrol caught her in the perimeter.
Please, you didn't catch me. We're allies now. Didn't Aria tell you?
Nyreen was expected, Bray. Return to your station.
The Talons are ready, but if I'm sending my people into the breach, I want to make sure those force fields come down for good. So like it or not, you're stuck with me.
It's almost as if you don't trust me.
It's exactly as if I don't trust you.
Okay, no morality points this time, but since Aria and Nyreen don't really seem to get along, it might be smart to act as a trustworthy intermediary. After all, one way or another, we need them to work together.
We're going to war together. I'll make sure we can rely on each other.
Agreed, Commander. Glad one of you isn't on a power trip.
Go wait by the med bay, Nyreen. We'll join you shortly. Shepard, I have last-minute orders to dole out. I'll meet you there too.
Or we could have another quick conversation, this time with Aria alone, and ask her a few questions.
I can almost taste it, Shepard. Once we stop the leaching of the reactor, my path to the General will be clear.
Well, aside from the thousands of troops standing between him and us.
Details. We don't have time to waste. Is there something you want to talk about?
Indeed there is, as we can now once again dive a bit deeper into the details of her plan, and also inquire about that aforementioned trust issue to hopefully avoid any unpleasant surprises.
Do you think Nyreen's over whatever happened between you?
It was a long time ago. But Nyreen's the type that doesn't forget. I run roughshod over most people, and if the tracks I leave aren't deadly, they're at least permanent. As different as we are, I don't wish her ill. So long as she doesn't get in my way.
What happens when we bring the force fields down?
The people revolt, chaos ensues, and we lead the Talons and my forces on a wanton path right through the General's command center in Afterlife.
A bloodbath.
It's true. When the force fields come down, all hell breaks loose. But as far as I'm concerned, all the blood's on Petrovsky's hands.
Is your hatred for the General getting the best of you?
I'd say it's bringing out the best in me. The man has turned Omega into a prison and a launch pad for Cerberus campaigns. You should hate him too. I, for one, can't wait to finally get my hands on him.
And that's all for real this time. Let's leave it to it and make our way over to the med bay and to Nyreen.
I won't bother you with more questions.
All right, when you're ready, I'll meet you and Nyreen at the exit by the med bay.
One thing we can do on the way is turn in the other side mission with the hacker, although unlike the mechanic, she won't give us any XP.
I've blocked enemy access to critical areas. The frontal assault should be less treacherous.
And that is nice to hear, even though sadly the upcoming fights remain entirely unaffected.
I think they have us trapped in here. They're in for a surprise, all right.
Shepard, got a second? I know time is short, but I was hoping we could talk. Alone.
And sure, let's have some more one-on-one time. After all, we are just talking, something that Aria herself does not seem to be too keen on doing.
Aria will be joining us soon. Now may be our only chance.
I'm not trying to undermine Aria. I know she has to be ruthless. Let her have revenge. I'm not doing this for me, and I'm not doing it for Aria or what we once had.
It's for the people of Omega. I get it.
Someone has to be their voice in all this. Incredibly powerful forces are about to do battle, with them caught in the middle. I just hope, as we bring down those force fields and go to war, that you can keep the people in mind.
And apart from voicing her preference for how we should approach this mission, we can now also ask Nyreen a bunch of questions, so let's get to it and learn a few things.
Are your people ready for the fight?
You needn't worry about the Talons, Shepard. They were thieves and scoundrels once, but they serve with integrity now. We're fighting for a better world. I have to wonder if the same can be said for our Asari friend. I suppose we'll know soon enough.
How did you get mixed up with Aria?
I was happy in the Turian military, but when my biotic abilities started to manifest, my superiors saw fit to reallocate me. They practically locked me away. I couldn't use my skills to benefit my people, so I quit. I floated around the galaxy, looking for a new purpose.
And you found your way here?
More like I lost my way here. But then there was this beautiful, fierce creature who didn't let anyone define her. I'll admit, I was mesmerized. I wanted a little bit of that to rub off on me.
How close were you two?
The draw was undeniable. Her strengths mirrored my insecurities. Maybe deep down it was the same for her. But trying to be with her turned into trying to be her. Nyreen Kandros was vanishing.
Very important to ask the option on the left first for a bit of extra dialogue, and now we can select either one. This is not a morality choice, although I feel some reassuring might not be a bad idea at this point.
You seem like your own person to me.
For all the drama between us, I'm grateful to Aria. She helped me remember who I am. It took a lot to break away from her, but I regret nothing.
What's your impression of Petrovsky?
An adversary worthy of respect, and not just because he's shrewd. When I was starting to organize the Talons, he offered amnesty to anyone who set down their weapon. A few of my people surrendered, and he made good on his word.
So he has a code.
And, as near as I can tell, it doesn't exactly match the elusive man's.
What do you know about the Cerberus force fields?
The technology comes from beyond the Omega-4 relay. Flesh disintegrates upon contact. The power required must be enormous. I fear that disrupting it could destabilize other systems on the station. I hope we'll proceed with care and certainty.
You're a veteran. Why are you so disturbed by these adjutants?
I know fighting Reapers is old hat to you, Commander. But these... what they do to people? They could still be out there. And if they return, I don't want to even think about what would happen to Omega's people. The image of that drives me and haunts me.
And there we are, it is indeed time for us to go. After all, Cerberus is likely not going to leave Omega by themselves.
I appreciate it, Nyreen. We're heading out soon.
I'll be ready.
And so are we, so let's head for the medbay exit now and start the mission. There is no need to make any weapon changes, the Valkyrie has served us well so far, and despite having a few squad points to spend, we are already where we want to be with everyone, so let's jump right into the action.
We're arriving at one of the Eezo processing plants. It's been powered down, so we'll have to pry open the door.
I'll get it.
Access to the mine should be on the far side.
And the reactor is beyond that?
According to the schematics. I ran Omega, Nyreen. I didn't work the mines myself.
No. You had indentured servants for that. Spirits.
Relax. They're all Cerberus.
They've been ripped to shreds.
I don't like this.
Okay, so we are starting things off in the dark here, not really the situation you want to be in, with rumors of these mysterious and highly dangerous adjutants around, especially not with dead Cerberus soldiers scattered all over the place. Still, the path that we are on is fairly linear, and there also isn't any loot hidden on it, so apart from the eerie atmosphere, there is nothing to worry about, at least not yet.
More dead.
It's a bloodbath. Got a bad feeling. We shouldn't be...
Quiet. What's that sound?
An adjutant.
Oh no. The General must have locked this place down to keep it inside.
The elevator to the mines is through that door.
It's deactivated.
Then we need to power this place up. There should be a master circuit breaker somewhere.
These pipes power the door. We should follow them.
Right, so before we take a closer look at that door, we can quickly take a turn to its left to grab some credits, and while we do, we also hear Nyreen mention some pipes that we should follow. Before we do, we can briefly look at the datapad over here, telling us that the facility's lockdown was apparently Cerberus's top priority, most likely because of one or more adjutants inside. Still, now that we're here, let us at least get some lighting, and to do that, we need to follow those glowing red pipes. Once again, for now there is no more loot to miss, apart from the stuff that we already grabbed, so we can simply follow the lights to our destination.
The whispering's receding.
Maybe the adjutant doesn't like its odds.
Don't kid yourself. I've seen one of those things take down a squad of soldiers.
And again, it looks like we are dealing with a highly dangerous creature, so before we potentially lure it towards our presence, let's grab one more pile of credits.
Down this ladder!
There's the power control.
When this is over, there'll be a lot of repairs to make.
I hope you'll focus on the civilian areas first.
You are relentless.
That's one thing we have in common.
Spirit!
Unload on it!
Nyreen, wake up!
And there we are, face to face with our very first adjutant. Although being a single enemy, it will now feel the full force of overload, flare and energy drain, which immediately removes its barrier and leaves us to deal with the still pretty impressive armor.
I hate those things.
Hate should make you deadlier. That looked like fear to me.
Alright, back to the door.
Okay, so Nyreen's hatred or fear of the adjutants might be something to watch. At the very least, she seemed a bit hesitant there for a second, and against an enemy of this caliber, that is something that we cannot afford. For now though, the lights are back on, so we can make our way towards the elevator.
An Another one.
And there we are. Looks like there are a few more of these adjutants around, but again, all on its own, it's not too hard to defeat. It does have access to the Singularity ability though, which is something you do not want to stand in for long, as it can quickly drain shields, armor and health.
Right away.
Shepard, look alive! More adjutants.
We can't let them escape.
Alright, things are picking up steam as we are now facing not one but 3 adjutants, albeit with some ground to cover until they reach us. Still, this means that we will have to spread out our abilities a bit more between them, and thanks to their powerful barriers, it might take a while until we take them down. By the way, next to their lunging melee attack and their biotics, adjutants do not have any actual weaponry, as the cannon that is fused to their right arm is solely used to shoot the Singularity projectile. Now, in theory, this sounds like an enemy that is easy to dodge, especially since they are also fairly slow-moving creatures, but staying alive against multiple ones still requires a good amount of awareness to avoid getting jumped from behind.
I think we got them all.
Let's try the elevator again. Stay alert. All right, into the elevator.
I'll seal the door, just in case.
On to the mines. What's eating you?
Just processing. It's clear the General sealed that area to keep the adjutants in.
Along with some unlucky soldiers.
Yes. The creatures killed them, but didn't turn them into more adjutants. Can't shake it. Something's off.
You're just spooked.
There's a rhythm to this place, Aria. To Cerberus. If you'd stuck it out here, maybe you'd feel it too.
Whatever's in our way, we'll deal with it.
You can hear the drills. Damn it, they shouldn't be straining like that.
Cerberus must be working them hard.
Access to the reactor is somewhere on the upper level.
Let's find a way up there.
Alright, now this next area here can be a bit tricky to navigate, as it is a somewhat confusing mess of walkways. Don't worry though, we will find ourselves a nice path through it, and make sure not to miss any valuables along the way, just like the medkit over here for example. And it looks like we have exchanged the adjutants for the more familiar Cerberus enemies for the time being, although it is hard to say which ones I actually prefer at this moment, as the troopers might be easier to take out individually, but they are also smart enough to take cover and use smoke screens, which does not exactly speed up the fight. By the way, please take all of the fights at this stage in the game with a grain of salt. We are very close to actually hitting the level cap of 60 at this point, and while that doesn't necessarily mean that our guns hit any harder than, say, level 30 or 40, we are still running around with a squad that has all of their core and most of their side abilities fully maxed out. Depending on when you decide to tackle a mission or a DLC, your experience might therefore be a little different, although I am also trying to follow what I perceive to be an optimal mission order, if such a thing exists. Now, what we just heard about charges and proximity sensors should be cause for concern, as it looks like Cerberus is attempting to blow something up, and again we are still largely moving around on small metal walkways. On the bright side, enemy resistance has let up a bit. As a matter of fact, we have actually cleared most of the area for now.
We can use that maintenance elevator across the way. We need to find an alternate route across.
And indeed we do, but before we go looking, we want to keep our eyes on that elevator, which is now coming down with 2 Nemesis snipers on it. However, a quick triple power combination takes them out instantly, and again this is what I meant earlier in regards to us being more or less maxed out. On lower levels, power combinations are still pretty powerful, but perhaps not always to this extent. In any case, we have more enemies ahead of us, although this batch here is quickly taken out. Unlocking the door to the maintenance area then clears our way onwards and also gives us access to another weapon upgrade.
Looks like that goes under the conveyor belt.
And yes, you may have already spotted that conveyor belt from above, but now we have to go down below it.
bastards are running this place too hot. It'll burn out in a month.
The engineer in front of us, as well as their turret and some of the mechs, are then greeted by another power combo, which leaves only a few of the mechs standing, and those should be easy to dispatch.
I think this is going to get us there.
Moving on, we have another door to unlock, and once we do, we can take the ladder behind it to get up to the next level.
Head up.
Now, very important, we are not going to follow Aria's command and instead go through the small gate on the left here. Behind it, we can find 3 objects of interest. First, some tools that we can salvage for credits, then another weapon upgrade, and finally a datapad. The entry on it reveals that people in the facility were scared of the health risks of Element Zero exposure, which are downplayed in this message, and I'm actually not quite sure if the statement about Eezo only being dangerous in dust form is correct. Perhaps some of you lore experts can chime in about that in the comments. In any case, as we climb up the ladder here, we are now on the same platform that we would have ended up on had we taken the stairs earlier, and it's a good thing that we waited for a little while longer to collect all of those things, as there are plenty of enemies up here. Now, to be honest, taking those stairs is definitely the safer approach, while the ladder dropped us much closer to the enemies and also makes it a lot easier for them to surround us. So that is why we opted for the early tactical retreat pretty much right away, as this is definitely one of the tougher fights in this part of the mission. Especially the comparatively high number of Rampart mechs can cause issues, because just like the Adjutants, those mechs will not seek cover and instead come right at us. Still, with the occasional glance at the red dots on the minimap in the tactical HUD, it should be possible to avoid getting flanked or backstabbed, and sooner or later the area is then finally cleared. And that was indeed the last of the mechs for now, and the elevator is also just around the corner.
Made it. Hit the switch!
They know our target. Expect heavy reinforcements.
Just stay focused and find the access point to the reactor.
Okay, so here we are getting closer to the reactor, but until we get there, we still have a few more enemies standing in our way. This lone engineer here marks for an easy kill, albeit not for another addition to our list of melee kills, as they sadly died a bit earlier.
Looks like Cerberus invaded here. Killed everyone.
Now we're paying them back in kind.
I'm sure your dead workers feel much better now.
Following a bit of back and forth between Aria and Nyreen, we could now equip the Chakram launcher, which is actually an assault rifle that fires around discs of ammo that explode upon impact. These discs can pierce through armor, including the shields of Cerberus guardians, but ultimately I am not a fan of the weapon and we won't use it here. I might show it off later, but I simply don't like that the disc projectiles have a noticeable travel time and that the weapon needs to be charged up for maximum damage. In my opinion, all of that makes it a bit too inconvenient to use on Insanity difficulty.
The elevator to the reactor is across the way.
Careful. This place is falling apart.
Well, at least we are only facing malfunctioning infrastructure and not more Cerberus troops or mechs, and yes, the journey through and across this facility will be over soon.
Strange. We're not being attacked anymore.
Yep, be ready for anything.
And if that isn't foreshadowing, then I don't know what is. Still, no other choice for us but to press on. Luckily, the elevator that finally gets us out of here is right up ahead.
Why are you grinning, Aria?
We're almost there. When the force fields come down, this war finally begins.
For some of us, it started months ago.
That wasn't war, babe. That was just warm-up.
And again, a bit of bickering between the two of them, with Nyreen constantly reminding Aria that this war is as much about the people of Omega as it is about Aria retaking power, although so far it seems like Aria is having none of it.
There's the reactor, straight ahead.
Alright, so we have finally made it to the reactor, but very importantly, we want to keep our distance for now. Instead of running right towards it and triggering a cutscene, we want to turn left first, grab some more credits and ammo, and only then are we ready for what comes next.
I commend you. Your plan of attack was impeccable.
Looks like we were expected.
More like lured.
I knew the reactor would be the hard target. I gave you no choice but this route.
Okay, now I think this is one of those rare situations where even a Paragon Shepard can take the Renegade option. After all, Petrovsky certainly does not seem to need another ego boost from us.
Why don't you do this in person, Petrovsky? Get your own hands dirty.
I take no pleasure in any of this, Commander. You're the ones trying to start a war for the glory of Aria. But now it's over.
This isn't over until your next of kin can't identify you.
I love your bravado, but have the sense to know when you're beaten. You've been neutralized, and I can leave you there to rot. You might as well give up.
Never!
Aria, what are you thinking?
I'm not going out like this!
Aria, don't!
What the hell is she trying to do? Damn it, Aria, you're forcing my hand. We'll do it your way then.
Nyreen! Max!
Alright, so what we now have ahead of us is a battle of attrition against a large number of Rampart mechs. Since they cannot be damaged by the force fields, they will continuously appear by walking through the red barrier, while we are stuck inside with Nyreen and Aria, with the latter trying to pry open a hole in the force field which takes her out of the fight. Now luckily, Aria is immune to any damage while she does this, so we technically do not need to protect her and can focus all of our attention on the mechs. Nyreen is then a formidable squad member for this fight, as she has access to the anti-armor power Incinerate and could also deploy her Biotic Protector ability for a Biotic Force Field of her own. However, since our goal is to actually destroy some mechs and not just wait until a certain amount of time has passed, I think the best course of action is to just keep moving, ideally with Nyreen somewhere else on the map to divide the mech's attention a bit. Next to new mechs spawning in and potentially shooting or stabbing us in the back, one other thing to pay attention to are the sizzling piles of debris they leave behind once they're destroyed, as those can pose a danger to us even after the mech has been eliminated. Touching one of those piles deals a good amount of damage, and they also take a few seconds until they vanish, so it's a good idea to keep an eye out for them. Other than that, there really isn't that much else to say about this fight. Again, it is a simple matter of staying alive for long enough to see the end. If you found them useful, Nyreen's lift grenades can and should also be used freely during this fight, as they don't share a cooldown with her other abilities, and the same is true for Shepard's grenades, although we want to keep a few of those on hand for later. And yes, it is also pretty likely for Nyreen to go down during the later stages of this fight, especially if you kept moving separately from her, but since the area is fairly small, a manual revive is often possible and saves some medigel. In any case, after enough mechs have been taken out, the fight ends automatically, and we are treated to another cutscene.
Aria. How did you know you could do that?
I didn't.
Alright, so the fighting is not over yet, and this time we are all on our own. Pretty early in this area we can collect a medkit, but then we need to shift our attention over to some more mechs. This is also why I said earlier to keep a few grenades on Shepard, as those might come in handy here. All in all though, this fight should be much easier than the previous one, and the combination of incendiary ammo and concussive shot is often enough to take out a mech pretty quickly. Still, as we are nearing the reactor controls, I should also briefly mention that all of the fighting in this area is entirely optional, as our only goal is to reach that control panel, and we can activate it any time, no need to defeat any enemies whatsoever. But while that is undoubtedly the fastest way to finish this section, it is also a bit risky to leave all of those mechs alive to shoot at us while we just run past them, and in the end taking them out seems like the more sensible solution to me, primarily because there simply are not that many. Once they are defeated, our path to the reactor controls is clear, and with that we now have to make another tough decision.
Shepard, there's no let-up. The mechs just keep coming.
Stay alive over there.
You can't do this, Commander. There's more at stake than you know. That reactor powers life support systems for dozens of wards across the station. Shut it down and thousands of people perish.
You hearing this, Aria?
Yes, and I don't care. Shut it down. Shepard, don't. Try rerouting power away from the force fields.
Damn it. Hold tight down there.
Rerouting the power to maintain the other systems.
Are you crazy? We're almost spent. Nyreen, watch your flank.
This is who you're working for, Shepard. She doesn't care who gets hurt.
What are you waiting for? Overload the reactor.
She'd just throw thousands of lives away.
Shepard, Nyreen's down. I'm stabilizing her. You can't reroute power in time. Hit the fucking overload. Now!
This shouldn't be that hard. Maybe something inside is holding you back. Maybe deep down you're starting to think the galaxy might be better off without her. She's never going to learn. She'll never change. Even if you win, Omega loses.
Enough.
So be it. All units, battle stations, prepare for attack. Get the demolition crews into position.
You okay?
Despite your best efforts to kill me, your soft heart almost cost me everything.
Quiet, Aria. It worked. Shepard saved us without sacrificing innocent lives. I applaud him.
I suppose. Whatever. You fought bravely against those mechs in there, Nyreen. Very impressive.
But?
Why can't you bring that same grit when adjutants attack? It's pathetic. You tense up at the mere mention of those abominations.
Lay off. She just saved you.
I'm trying to help her, Shepard. Call it tough love. The war's starting. I don't mean to miss it.
She's never been big on thank yous. Getting reports. All force fields down. Civilians taking to the streets in droves. Cerberus pulling back.
That won't last.
The people don't have the training to go up against Cerberus front lines. They'll be wiped out.
Civilian casualties can't be avoided. You'll have to accept this.
Say what you will, Aria. I won't allow senseless deaths.
Alright, after rejecting the Renegade Interrupt 3 times earlier, we will now continue to stick to the Paragon path and tell Nyreen to protect those civilians, although as far as I know, this decision has no noticeable impact on how the rest of the mission plays out.
Do what you can to protect them.
Of course, Commander.
Aria, Bray here.
Report.
My team is scouting the maintenance tunnels. We've encountered Cerberus forces escorting engineers. They're moving gear. Look to be setting explosives to the station's central support columns.
Bray, engage. Delay them as long as you can. We're coming.
Got it. Roll out, people.
If they detonate the main column, they'll cut off the way to Afterlife. The Talon offensive will be stopped cold.
So we split up.
Yes. Nyreen, lead the frontal assault. Shepard and I will meet you in the markets after we've taken care of those bombs.
Of course. But don't count on me building your memorials if you get yourselves killed.
I like it when you're feisty. The only route to the central column is through the tunnels.
And there we go, ready for the second half of this grand finale, this time with Aria as our only squad member. Once again, we are going up against a wave of mechs, although, as you may have just heard, Cerberus is calling in reinforcements, and those will be decidedly less robotic. Unfortunately, even with the Cerberus force fields now removed, we still cannot launch the assault on Petrovsky's hideout, as our enemies are trying to blow up parts of the station that would block our access to Afterlife for good. In this fight in particular, the mechs and Cerberus troops are also aided by a shield generator in the back, so taking that out will make the fight a little bit easier for us.
Reinforcements!
We are then informed of more reinforcements, this time including Nemesis snipers, so staying behind cover and keeping an eye out for their red targeting laser is a good idea. Thankfully, Aria's unique set of biotic powers still works against shielded enemies, so even with Nyreen's overload no longer accessible, we have ways to deal with those Cerberus units that usually all come with shields. Dropping enemies from the catwalk here, by the way, that results in instant kills, very useful against some of the more powerful targets in the area, and easily achieved with Aria's Lash, for example. Okay, so we just heard what's coming next. Get ready for some form of explosion and hope that we are not caught in the middle of it. On the bright side, in terms of enemy resistance, the worst is definitely behind us for now. One single Centurion still stands in our way, but that should not be too difficult to handle.
It's up the catwalk, but we can extend the dam in the control room. That should get us across.
So, let us do exactly what Aria just said. The dam controls are just around the corner.
Let's go.
Nyreen here. We've engaged Cerberus and cleared our first target. ETA to the Gozu District is on track.
Excellent.
Aaron, found what you wanted. Sending you the coordinates now.
Is that my couch?
Oh yes it is, and that also completes the third and final side quest of this DLC, unlocking the Meticulous achievement, which was sadly removed in the Legendary Edition. Now, before we keep going, we can also take a quick turn to the left here to grab some more credits, then loot the medical station in the next room, and finally proceed along the path towards the central column. Two Guardians do their job and guard the door here, but without their shields they don't stand a chance, and even with, a careful shooter can still make quick work of them. Around the corner then, another Guardian is waiting, but Aria's Lash is already off its cooldown, so the shield is quickly stripped away and the enemy an easy target. Rinse and repeat for Trooper number 4 waiting around the last corner here, and with that we are in the clear.
Shepard, we need to get to the central column before Cerberus sets off those bombs.
And while Aria urges us to press on, we still want to take our time to grab some more credits. After all, we somehow need to make back all of that money we spent at Harrod's Emporium. The way onwards then allows us a quick slide downstairs, after which we need to disable a big fan to clear the path into the next area.
We're hitting less resistance. I think they're sending forces your way.
They're messing with the support columns. We have to stop them.
Alright, after grabbing another medkit and taking note of Nyreen's report of potential reinforcements coming in, we can now engage a comparatively small group of enemies surrounding one of the support columns. The most important target in this short fight is definitely the engineer. If we can keep them from deploying a turret, this encounter should be over in just a few moments.
Over there! We can get to the bomb controls once the access panels are open. This way.
Got it.
Those bombs just went live. The console is locked. We'll have to manually disable them. Take care of the bombs, Shepard. I'll handle Cerberus.
Okay, here we go. 5 minutes on the clock and we have 4 bombs to defuse. All the while, Cerberus is trying their best to stop us, although that would probably also mean that all of their soldiers in this area would get blown up.
3 left.
Now, as you can see, disabling an explosive is fairly easy. We just need to stick around for a few seconds. The disabling process is also not interrupted if we take damage, although on Insanity difficulty we should still try to avoid that, of course.
2 more.
Very importantly, there are also 4 medkits in this area, 1 on each side, so as we make our way around the room we want to make sure to grab them, otherwise we need to loop around once the fight is over. This right here, though, is the one that we grabbed as we came in. It is admittedly a bit hard to keep track of directions in all of this chaos. Still, despite what it may look like, this fight is made a bit easier by Aria distracting some of the enemies, and most of them also move much slower than us, so outmaneuvering them is definitely possible.
Just 1 to go.
And so, with only about 1 minute of time passed, we are already down to the last explosive. You can probably go even faster than this with the liberal use of Adrenaline Rush, but this is not a speed run and we also don't need to skip every possible combat encounter in my opinion. In addition, we want to keep in mind that defusing the explosives is likely just one of our objectives. Once the bomb has been disabled, the Cerberus enemies are surely not going to magically vanish, so taking out what we can along the way might make things a bit easier for us later. Nonetheless, situations like this here, where you are pinned down and allow all enemies in the area to converge in your position, those should generally be avoided, even though that is of course much easier said than done. Now, with all 4 explosives disabled, the continuous waves of reinforcements have finally stopped and we need to take out whatever remains. This mechanic is another good argument for trying to defuse the bombs as quickly as possible, as reinforcements will continue to spawn until the last one is taken care of. However, because we also killed quite a few enemies earlier, we now only have a handful of stragglers left to deal with, a good opportunity to collect the occasional melee kill and to grab the remaining medkits. The last enemy is then a lone mech in the middle of the room, and with its destruction another threat has been averted.
This way, Shepard. Over here.
We're clear.
Good. Nyreen, things are under control here. What's your situation?
We're advancing through the Gozu District. Move forward! Keep that flank covered!
Yes, boss.
We're holding our own, but Cerberus has started targeting the civilians. Reports of casualties are coming in from all sectors.
Save those you can, and head for the rendezvous point. We'll meet you there.
We'll do what we can. Nyreen out.
So how exactly do we get to Afterlife from here?
I'm thinking the straightforward approach, for a change.
Alright, if you haven't grabbed all 4 medkits, now would be a good time to do so, as we are about to leave the area behind for good. Behind the door here we find a ladder, and soon after another one, as well as another weapon upgrade that we don't want to miss.
Cerberus.
How do you know that? Could be the Talons. Never mind.
Our way onwards goes to the right, but we want to turn left first for some more credits and a medkit. We also hear some Cerberus trooper in distress, and you can probably already guess why.
There are adjutants here. Track our progress and seal the rooms behind us.
Yes, Aria.
Yep, the adjutants are back, and seemingly not on good terms with Cerberus either. Perhaps we can use that to our advantage.
Looks like they bit off more than they could chew.
We should get a move on.
Once again, Aria reminds us to keep going, but I think a few seconds to grab some loot can be spared. Also, there seems to be a terminal down here, so let's quickly check that out as well.
With the civilian population contained, we should be ready to initiate the next phase of the project on schedule. Before host conversion, we should begin the process of fusing the control implants to the subject's nervous systems. With the current success ratio, we project being able to surpass demand by 300%.
Okay, so we have 3 entries here. Number 3 is the one that we just heard, so we only need to listen to the first 2 for a full picture of the situation.
The first-generation adjutants have been transferred from the containment area and are being outfitted with the implants. The previous batches have been processed and moved to the storage area. We can now control when and where the adjutants convert their victims. Initial testing on various species provides ample proof the virus can adapt flawlessly, regardless of the host used.
Those idiots were experimenting on adjutants.
That explains the ones we saw earlier.
And yes, of course Cerberus could not resist experimenting on these creatures, and since the adjutants are likely to infect their victims and transform them into adjutants themselves, it's clear why their numbers are on the rise. In this datapad memo over here, we also learn that instead of taking the escape test subjects down, Cerberus wanted to recapture them for further testing, and well, we have seen how that went.
Extra security. The doors only open one at a time.
Makes sense, considering what they had locked up in here.
Door's unlocked. Let's get out of here. That doorway leads to the Gozu District.
Look out!
Focus on the Atlas!
And here we go, back into the action, this time with some Cerberus troopers, and yes, also with an Atlas mech against us. Our current position is actually pretty solid against the regular trooper fire, but the mech can flank us fairly easily here, so after a few moments we might want to look for better cover. Along the side of the room here we can also find another medkit, and grabbing it actually earns us the last few XP needed to advance to level 60. That unlocks the Peak Condition achievement, which was unfortunately also removed in the Legendary Edition, and means that any further medkits, side quests or missions will no longer give us any experience points, as we cannot level up any further. So let's stay focused on the fight, where we have looped around the back of the battlefield, not only much further away from the Atlas, but also behind most of our enemies. This allows us to take most of them out fairly quickly, as they have not yet changed their cover, and after a few moments the fight is down to us and the mech. And well, I don't think it's too big of a secret how this will go. This here would be another excellent opportunity to unlock the Hijacker achievement, by the way, but since we already grabbed that in the last episode, we can just destroy the Atlas in the old-fashioned way. Now, once the mech is down, we do not want to leave the area right away. Instead, we want to quickly head over to the other side of the room, where another medkit is waiting for us. Yes, I know I just said that it is no longer necessary to grab these, but this would hardly be a completionist playthrough if we just stopped looting because we no longer earn XP for it. Up the ladder then, we can find some more credits, and that's all there is to grab here, so let's drop down again and leave.
Nyreen, Aria and I are entering the Gozu District.
Understood.
In here, it's a quick turn to the left for some more credits from a datapad, and then we go right, where we can pick up another weapon upgrade. Behind the gate, we can also find a much-needed ammo refill, and that should get us ready for what comes next. At the back of the crashed shuttle here, we can also collect another pile of easily missable credits, while the next door holds a nasty surprise for us in store. Luckily, with a few well-timed abilities and a grenade, we can quickly take out the turret that is aimed right at us, making the rest of the fight much easier. While the remaining enemies are hiding behind a smoke screen, we can take out the generator in front of us to at least prevent them from recharging their shields, and that should be enough to take out whoever remains.
We're almost there.
Once the fighting is over, we can collect yet another medkit on the counter on the right here, and with that we have finally made it. Up next is Talon territory.
Friendly's incoming. Nyreen is waiting for you to markets. What's going to happen to us?
And of course, there are a couple of things to grab in here as well, and also a few short lines of dialogue to listen to.
If that Talon scout hadn't found us earlier, we'd be dead.
For the plight that humanity stays all within its path. And the only chance at redemption lies in the Word. Repent. Repent and restore your souls to glory before it is too late. This great station has fallen, and all within shall fall with it. We shouldn't be hiding back here. We should be out there fighting with them.
We got this covered! Go!
And this already concludes our short stint in friendly territory. We are a few credits and upgrades richer, but now it is time for one last elevator ride.
Nyreen here. Something's not right.
Cerberus is still on my station. Of course something's not right.
Not what I was talking about. I'm checking this out. Going radio silent.
What the hell is she doing?
Where's Nyreen?
Scouting ahead. We've got our hands full holding this area.
She's going on to Afterlife.
We can't keep this up much longer.
They're retreating!
That's it. Tell your boss I'm coming for him. Enough! Kill you all! Petrovsky dies. Now.
Nyreen Kandros was a good soldier. It's a shame she had to die for your petty ambitions.
You're a dead man!
No, wait! What now, Petrovsky?
Divide and conquer, Commander. Kandros killed the adjutants we hadn't finished experimenting on. These are fully under our control. The prototypes for our future army. Hold the perimeter! Keep Shepard away from those generators! Keep Shepard away from those generators!
You can't stop me so easily!
Alright, a lot is going on and there aren't many breaks in the action to get some lines in, so here's what we're currently doing. In all four corners of the room there is an override console. Activating it exposes the corresponding stasis generator. Shooting that generator quickly destroys it, and we need to do that 4 times to free Aria. In the meantime, we are hunted by Cerberus troops and adjutants, but we need to completely ignore anything that doesn't directly stand in our path, otherwise this will get extremely messy.
I'm back, fuckers.
And there we are, Aria is freed and rejoins us now, as we once again need to clear out any remaining hostiles. Interestingly enough, Aria is actually invulnerable after being freed, so she can tank some damage for the rest of the fight, although the majority of enemies will stay focused on us. At this point, maybe another quick word about the first section of the fight. After destroying a generator, Aria also unleashes a powerful biotic pulse that briefly staggers all enemies in the area and also deals a good amount of damage. So in a way, even though we did not really engage too many enemies, 4 of these pulses are often enough to kill a few troopers anyway, not to mention that staggered enemies have a harder time pursuing us, which makes dashing from console to console even easier. By the way, there are also shield generators in all 4 corners, and this time we want to keep those intact, as they allow us to quickly recharge our shields after taking some damage during all of that dashing. Yes, they do of course also have the same effect on our enemies, but those tend to choose paths that lead through the middle of the room, outside of the shield generator's radius. Finally then, we should also note that the total number of enemies in this fight actually depends on how quickly Aria is freed, as reinforcements will continue to come in until the last generator is destroyed. However, enemy reinforcements are calculated in such a way that there will never be more than 2 adjutants on the battlefield at the same time, and a new one can only spawn after one of those has been killed. The Cerberus enemies, meanwhile, will continue to spawn infinitely until the last generator has been destroyed, and all of those facts are pretty good arguments for doing exactly that as quickly as possible. Now, there is one downside to Aria's biotic shockwave, and you can see it here, with the fight more or less already over. You have probably noticed this a few times over the course of the series already, but from time to time, some Cerberus troopers that get knocked to the ground simply refuse to get back up. That can lead to perfectly healthy enemies lying hidden somewhere on the floor, and even with some guidance from the minimap, it usually takes a moment to find and eliminate them.
Attention all Cerberus forces. Surrender.
However, now that the last enemy has been killed, Petrovsky gives up, and we receive some credits and also unlock the Savior achievement. If you haven't already, now is the last chance to grab those 2 medkits, but since we already have those, let us accept Petrovsky's surrender.
Cease and desist all aggression. It's over. Commander Shepard, I surrender myself into your custody.
That is the most pathetic thing I've ever heard.
Shepard, I'm unarmed, and I can give the Alliance intel on the elusive man.
You'll say anything to save your skin.
I let you escape, Omega. I deserve mercy.
Is this true, Aria?
Yes. Cerberus had successfully taken this station and he let me go. Do you feel that, Oleg? That's death. Only inches away. Remember this feeling. I'm letting you live. For my partner and for the war against your master. You better cooperate. Take him, Shepard. You and your alliance can decide his fate. Just get this filth off my station.
Commander, glad to see you've had a calming effect on Ms. Talok. I tried talking sense into her one time. I look forward to hearing how you pulled it off.
Don't assume you know where this is going.
What? From what I understand, high-ranking Alliance POWs lead fairly comfortable lives.
Now that I've seen what you're capable of firsthand, maybe Aria's instincts were right.
So, you're going to execute me. I'm your prisoner. You can't just shoot me in cold blood.
If you don't tell the Alliance everything, I'm giving you back to Aria. Bray, get him out of here.
You've got good control, Shepard. I know it's hard to resist that impulse. I've been waiting to kill that man for months. Walk around with you for a few hours and I go all soft. You're like a disease.
This victory came at a cost, Aria. It's not soft to recognize that.
You sound like someone trying to sell something. I admire your tenacity. And thanks to you, I have Omega back.
So what's your plan?
There's a lot to rebuild. Starting with this command center. It may take some time to remove the general's stink from my throne. Wonder if I'll ever really enjoy the pole dancing in here again.
Okay, one last dialogue choice then, and I think Aria will stick to her word and help us out as promised, so let's not remind her of that immediately, and instead honor the memory of Nyreen with the option at the top here, although we did not earn any Paragon points for it.
The citizens of Omega have been through a lot, Aria. Try to remember that.
How can I forget? There are reminders everywhere I look. And don't worry. I'll honor our arrangement. Troops, ships, and a mountain of Eezo. You earned it.
Then I'll be going.
Bray will take you back. I have a station to whip into shape. Citizens of Omega, hear me. I, Aria Talok, have given you back your lives. My rule is reignited. My hand is on the controls once more, and I will not let go again. Each of you owes a debt. Gain my favor by rounding up the remaining Cerberus invaders and we will cast them from our home. Then bury and mourn our dead. My methods haven't always been popular, and I can't promise that will change. But securing this station and everyone inside it is now my primary purpose. No one will imprison us again. We may be bruised. We may be bloodied. We are Omega.
You always get these crap details, Bray?
Not this time. You got a galaxy to save. Let's get you off this rock.
And here we are, back on the Normandy, and there is a message waiting for us, and of course it comes from no one else but Aria herself. As a small memento of our adventure, she has sent over Petrovsky's chessboard, but I think we'll take a look at that some other time. For today, we have completed the Omega DLC following the Paragon path. Yes, Aria's decision to spare the general at the end was completely dependent on Shepard's behavior throughout the mission, and it's nice to see that choosing mostly Paragon options seemed to have an influence on her. Had we decided to use that second Renegade interrupt, by the way, we could have still killed Petrovsky ourselves. Instead, he is now a war asset worth 30 points, while 375 points are received from Aria. And no, shooting the general makes no difference in that regard, so that would only result in 30 points being assigned elsewhere, so basically you are free to approach this DLC with any moral alignment, although I feel like seeing Aria finally come around and show some mercy is the more satisfying narrative payoff. In any case, the Omega DLC is now behind us, and we have reached the game's level cap. However, it is not time for the endgame just yet, as there are a few more DLCs still ahead of us. I think I already know which one we are going to tackle next, but I'll keep that a surprise for now. For today, I hope you enjoyed this episode and our walkthrough of the Mass Effect 3 Omega DLC, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.